this is Jenna.
And this is Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked. We are going over the book 1984 by George Orwell. Today we are tackling chapter 3, part 2, and that is pages 239 to 260 if you have the same book as we do. And recap for chapter 3, part 1, Winston did get caught up, and it was basically a retelling, not a retelling, but it was his
account.
His account. I don't like where are we coming up with these new words? Like we're tackling. It's his account. Like, what are we doing? When did we become sophisticated?
His account.
What have we been reading?
Of being in jail.
Yeah. So he just so the book, the last part went over the first few days that he was in jail, and now we continue on, and Winston awakes, and he is tied down. Seriously, why are we talking like this? He awakes. Winston is awoken from his slumber, and he is tied down. What is happening?
This is turning into a poetry jam session.
Right? Like, what is going on? That's so funny. Okay, anyways. So, Winston woke up, and he's tied down to a bed with a light over him. And there's a man in a white lab coat, and number one traitor, fucking O'Brien, is standing over him. So that instantly gives me experiment lab rat vibes.
Yeah, and the fact that he's holding a syringe.
Oh yeah, that too. That's very experimental.
That's fucking big detail there, O'Brien. Like, why do you have a syringe in your hand?
Yeah, that's not okay. So then Winston, this is like, he's officially in interrogation. And he gets beat up a lot. It's part of his routine interrogation. And there was always about 5 or 6 men in black uniforms that were like coming at him simultaneously. But they were just trying to, like, he was begging to confess to things that he didn't even do to make it stop, like that old man in the last part of the book.
Yeah, that he was just like, I'll confess to anything. Just tell me what you want to hear. I'll say any name. I will, whatever you want, I will tell you. And then we find out that's not how it works.
We find out later in the chapter that they don't even want them to confess. That's not even what they want. So, every so often, though, he does get food. And a barber would come and cut his hair. He'd even go get, like, physicals, I guess, kind of done, where they would, like, examine his entire body for, like, broken bones and such. Make sure he's still alive so they can continue beating him.
Basically torturing him at this point.
Yep. They were like, yes, they were just beating him and torturing him for absolutely no reason. And then all of a sudden, the party intellectuals come in. And their real weapon, and this, I'm reading this off of page 241, they didn't beat him up and torture him in that way. Their real weapon was the merciless questioning that went on and on, hour after hour, tripping him up, laying traps for him, twisting everything that he said, convicting him at every step of lies and self-contradiction, until he began weeping as much as from shame as from nervous fatigue. Sometimes he would weep 6 times in a single session. So they would scream at him, they'd pull his hair. Yeah. It was more like mental abuse.
Yeah, and I wrote, next to that, my thoughts were phase 2.
Yeah.
Because phase 1 is they basically, like,
beat him senseless.
Yeah, beat the shit out of you, so you're gonna fear them physically, and then phase 2 is they're gonna fuck with you mentally.
Yeah.
So it's like the physical torture, beatings, and now they're doing mental torture and basically mental beatings because they're breaking him down mentally.
Exactly. That is exactly correct. So he confessed to the assassination of eminent party members, the distribution of seditious pamphlets, embezzlement of public funds, sale of military secrets, sabotage of every kind. He confessed that he had been a spy in the pay of the East Asian government as far back as 1968. He confessed that he was a religious believer, an admirer of capitalism, and a sexual pervert. He confessed that he had murdered his wife, although he knew, and his questioners must have known, that his wife was still alive. He confessed that for years he had been in personal touch with Goldstein and had been a member of an underground organization which had included almost every human being he had ever known. And he had done absolutely none of those things. He was just saying, like, okay, make it stop. I will confess to whatever. Just like that other guy.
Yeah, because it was just easier to confess everything and it implicate everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, could you imagine just, like, he's like confessing just to make it all stop, and he was the one that was like, I don't care what they do to me, I'll never confess, and he's over there like confessing for like shit he's never even done.
But the sad thing is they don't even care if you confess. They're still gonna torture you and beat you.
Yeah, exactly.
But he doesn't understand that yet, so he thinks that if he does this at this point, that they're going to, I don't know, either let him go. I don't think he thinks they're going to let him go. But maybe just kill him faster or something.
I don't know.
Instead of slow process.
I think that he's just trying to say whatever he can say to, like...
to make it stop.
To make it stop. Like, he's not even thinking long term here. He's thinking the short term. Like, make it stop now. Like, what am I going to say to, like, make them be like, oh, shit, don't stop, wait. He said the right thing. He said the right combination of words. Like, he's just spewing shit.
But because they seem to be making everything up as they go, there's no right combination of words.
Yeah, exactly. No, and we definitely find that out later for sure.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden an officer says room 101, and he was strapped into a chair surrounded by dials under all the dazzling lights. And he got rolled over to room 101. And if we're doing phases, this would be phase number 3.
Yeah.
The bullshit they put him through now.
He's made it to 101.
Yeah. And he looks up and he sees O'Brien, Julia, and Mr. Charrington all rolling down the corridor together and shouting with laughter.
See, that's what confused me. Julia's name right there. So that's what was leading me to believe that she was in on it with O'Brien and Mr. Charrington.
But I think that he was just so fucked up that he was hallucinating.
Yeah.
I think he was hallucinating. I think O'Brien was there, but everybody else was not. And he's just hallucinating. He's lost his fucking mind. I mean, you would too under torturous conditions.
Yeah, because like we said, they've already broken him down physically. Now they're breaking him down mentally. I do see what you're saying. It does make sense that she would be a figment of his imagination and Mr. Charrington at that point.
Yeah. And we find out that O'Brien is in charge of all interrogation. And then he whispers in Winston's ear and says, don't worry, Winston. You are in my keeping. For 7 years I have watched over you. Now the turning point has come. I shall save you. I shall make you perfect. Oh, so it's not 7 year sentence. He's been watching him for 7 years.
That was so creepy and eerie to me.
So he's been watching for 7 years. Why?
Why so long?
I don't know.
Like, was that your neck that just cracked?
That was. I'm sorry if you could hear it.
I think they probably could because that was pretty loud.
Sorry. My bad. I just kind of went sideways. I'm crickety.
No, I was just like, oh my gosh, that was so loud. Like, I
feel so much better right now, though.
No, I know. The funny thing is I was looking at you because we were talking, and you barely turned your neck, and it's all.
Like, you know, I'm crickety. I'm a cricky.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, crikey.
Crikey. Oh my gosh.
So that's so crazy. And then he goes on, and O'Brien continues to like interrogate him, And they're totally gaslighting Winston by saying you all your memories are not real, you're tripping. And it made me almost second guess what was happening. Like, maybe this whole book was a figment of Winston's imagination for like a split second. Like, that would be the plot twist. But then I realized that he is totally gaslighting.
But I thought that also, because I went back to Winston's job. He's in the records department. It will be very easy. You're reading these records. You have to change stories. It'll be really easy to start losing grip of, like, what's reality.
But either way, he is changing the fucking stories. So obviously, like, yeah, your reality might be fucked up, but not to the point that O'Brien is saying. Yeah. Not to the point where, yes, 2 + 2 is 5, you motherfucker. Like, you're tripping. You thought you did this. And no, we've never been at war with East Asia or whatever Asia. That we've always been at war with blah, blah. When we know, because we saw it happen
they're always
in real time. They changed it, like, mid-sentence.
Yeah. And then everybody just goes along with it anyway, so.
Yeah, and then, exactly.
So I can see where, like, the confusion would be, like, but it definitely was gaslighting. Yeah.
But what solidified the gaslighting is that in the beginning of the book, Winston was talking about how a prominent party member was murdered. And they pinned it on 3 guys. But those 3 guys didn't do it. And Winston had a photograph of these 3 guys together, like in another location than where it happened on the same day that the prominent party member was murdered. And so he had proof that they weren't even there. They didn't do it, but yet they got in trouble for the crimes.
That was Jones, Arison, and Rutherford.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so he's always known that they didn't do it. He had a picture of them, and he put it into the what's it called? The Inferno. Yeah. What is it called?
Incinerator?
Yeah, the incinerator, like their trash cans, to where it just incinerates everything. And O'Brien had that same picture. And Winston was like, no, see, it's right there. Like, I'm not fucking losing it. And that's when I was like, okay, cool. So O'Brien is fucking with him. Totally gaslighting him.
Yeah.
And it's all good. Okay, so we're still on Winston's side here. He's not crazy.
No, he's not crazy. O'Brien's fucking with him.
Yeah. And O'Brien even says, ashes, not even identifiable ashes, dust, it does not exist. It never existed. And this is where Winston fucks up when he says, but it did exist. It does exist. It exists in memory. I remember it. You remember it. And O'Brien says, I don't remember it. Like,
of course.
Yeah.
Okay, O'Brien.
Yep. So that was that. So they just keep fucking with him pretty much. And then O'Brien wanted him to repeat a party slogan dealing with the control of the past. And it is, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. And it gets kind of... This part is when they really start... just fucking with him. More so, trying to get him to believe that 2 + 2 is 5. They're torturing him. Not just regular torture, but like by electrocution.
Yeah.
And they keep putting the dial up and up until he sees 5.
Which
fingers.
How
many fingers am I holding up? 4.
Because they're fucking with him mentally. But yeah, he was holding up, he had his 4 fingers up and his thumb behind, like you're, holding the number 4. And he just kept fucking with him, and he kept saying that there was 5, but Winston's like, there's 4.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, there's 5.
And it keeps happening, and pretty much O'Brien says, whatever the party holds to be truth is truth. Mm-hmm. So it's so like, I literally have it written here, so stupid. Because he just keeps doing it over and over and over again. And he finally, they keep electrocuting Winston, and finally Winston is like, or O'Brien says, how many fingers, Winston? And Winston says, 4, stop it, how can you go on 4, 4, 5, 4, 5, whatever, just fucking make it stop,
Yeah.
And he says, and O'Brien says, no, Winston, that is no use. You are lying. You still think there are 4. How many fingers, please? And then he responds back, 4, 5, 4, anything you like. Only stop it. Stop the pain. And so O'Brien's just like, I want you to truly believe it in your heart that there are 5, and I can tell that you do not.
Because he's only saying it because of the pain. He's not saying it because he really believes it.
Yeah. And it just keeps going on and on and on. And then I'm like, dude, why not just say 5 at some point, like, after they electrocute you a few more times, and just be like, 5. Be done with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's... But what's weird is that...
Well, do we need to talk about, too, what O'Brien says about the reality?
Okay.
So,
go for it.
I'm just going to read what it says here, because it's better than paraphrasing, because it won't make sense if I try to paraphrase.
Yeah.
But he says, but I tell you, Winston, the reality is not external. Reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else, not in the individual mind, which can make mistakes, and in any case, soon perishes. Only in the mind of the party, which is the collective and immortal. Whatever the party holds to be truth is truth. It is impossible to see reality except by looking through the eyes of the party. That is a fact that you've got to relearn. Which is like why he keeps doing it over and over, because he's trying to make him relearn that the party's always right no matter what. Doesn't matter what you think.
Yeah.
The party's immortal. The party is the collective mind. Like, there's... My mind doesn't matter. Your mind doesn't matter. Our beliefs don't matter. Winston's, Julia's, nobody's. It is just whatever the party says is 2 + 2 is 20
5,
or
whatever it is.
You know?
Yeah. And it even says you must humble yourself before you can become sane. So they're saying that he is insane.
Because he's not going by that the party is immortal and the collective and is the truth. And Winston's like, fucking, I have a brain. Like, let me use it.
Yeah.
You cannot use your brain, Winston.
Yeah, no. There's no. Because
you have to be a sheep.
Yes. That's the only way to survive.
If you're not a sheep, you're not winning.
So so when they're done interrogating him, they give him a needle, and I bet it has morphine or something in it.
Yeah.
But it has to be, like, the best feeling ever because the pain goes away. Instantly. And so it's an IV something of some sort. And then he just, like, gets rest. And it's probably, like, the best feeling. And he thinks O'Brien's, like, the shit. And because O'Brien is, like, taking care of him with the morphine. But as the chapter goes on, it's almost like he thinks that, he says he had never loved him so deeply as at this moment. It's almost like he has Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, he does. Because he's the one inflicting the pain. He's the one in charge. He's the one telling them how high to do the dial.
Yeah.
So, but then he also is the savior, and he can
stop
make it all go away.
And then... and then Winston's like, I love you, even though
also,
he's the
probably
reason.
High, so he's like, I love you because he's
high.
Oh
my God, I didn't think of that.
But yeah, for sure, the Stockholm Syndrome, is that what it's called?
Yeah, Stockholm.
Mm-hmm. That's so sad, though, like, that we're getting to this point.
I know, it says that O'Brien had tortured him to the edge of lunacy, but I feel like, I guess he would have, because Winston was never a lunatic before, and now he is gonna become one.
Well, I'm sure
because that's where he wants to be. Yeah, but that's exactly where he wants to be, and where O'Brien wants Winston to be. And then we find out that they torture only because people are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering if they torture the proles as well, if they capture them, or they only capture the higher, like, the party members, or, like, not party members, but the one step higher, like where Winston is.
I don't know, because I guess it would depend on the answers that they would give. If they're completely brainwashed.
Yeah, but some of the proles aren't brainwashed completely.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, but it's just a thought that I had. And then O'Brien says that he's not... He asked Winston, like, well, do you know why you're here? Do you know where you are? Do you know why we bring people here? And he says to make them confess, to punish them. And O'Brien's like, no, not merely to extract your confession, nor to punish you. Shall I tell you why we have brought you here? To cure you, to make you sane. Will you understand, Winston, that no one whom we bring to this place ever leaves our hands uncured? We are not interested in those stupid crimes that you have committed. The party is not interested in the overt act. The thought is all we care about. We do not merely destroy our enemies, we change them. Do you understand what I mean by that? And I'm like, dude, they're the psychos. They need to be changed to be sane. Like, what are they doing?
I know, because it even says that he was bending over Winston, like, leaning towards him, and his face looked enormous.
Yeah.
And it was filled with this sort of, like, expression of, like, lunatic intensity.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine, like, just right... Like, I could just... Ugh.
It's so creepy.
That's my, my voice, or not voice, but noise for O'Brien.
And then, of course, Winston's heart just sank. Shrank. Well, shrank.
Yeah.
All of the above.
It's so crazy. And then, so then he had thought, like, well, why, hold on, this part, did you...
The explanation?
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. So there, at this moment, however, O'Brien turned away, and he took a pace or two up and down, like, oh my gosh. I just hit the microphone.
He paced up and down.
He paced up and down, and then he continued.
And he gets into, like, the history of just the Middle Ages and how there are people who didn't conform and did conform and what happened then. And
so what he says is, the first thing for you to understand is that in this place there are no martyrdom. What is that word?
I don't know because I'm not there. Martyrdoms.
It's like a martyr, right? Like a martyr. There's no martyrs. You have read the religious persecutions of the past in the Middle Ages. There was the Inquisition.
Ages. There was the Inquisition. It was a failure. It set out to eradicate heresy and ended by perpetuating it. For every heretic it burned at the stake, thousands of others rose up. Why was that? Because the Inquisition killed its enemies in the open and killed them while they were still unrepentant. In fact, it killed them because they were unrepentant. Men were dying because they would not abandon their true beliefs. Naturally, all the glory belonged to the victim and all the shame to the inquisitor who burned him. And then it gives a few more examples of what has occurred in history, right?
Yeah, which was pretty trippy because they bring up, it says later in the 20th century, there were the totalitarians, as they were called. There were the German Nazis and the Russian communists. The Russians persecuted...
The Russians persecuted heresy more cruelly than the Inquisition had done.
My highlighter erased the word. And they imagined that they had learned from the mistakes of the past. They knew, at any rate, that one must not be... I can't even talk.
That one must not make martyrs before they expose their victims to public trial. They deliberately set themselves to destroy their dignity. They wore them down by torture and solitude until they were despicable, cringing wretches, confessing whatever was put into their mouths, covering themselves with abuse, accusing and sheltering behind one another, whimpering for mercy. And yet, after only a few years, the same thing happened over and over again. The dead men had become martyrs, and their degradation was forgotten. Once again, why was it? In the first place, because the confessions that they had made were obviously extorted and untrue.
There you go.
Yep. So then Winston thinks, why bother to torture me?
Yeah.
And O'Brien answers. And Winston was like, what the fuck? I thought that. I didn't say that. O'Brien just says, you are thinking that since we intend to destroy you utterly so that nothing that you say or do can make the smallest difference. In that case, why do we go to the trouble of interrogating you first? That is what you were thinking, was it not? And it is because he is a flaw in the pattern. He is a stain that must be wiped out. And then he goes on, did I not tell you just now that we are different from the persecutors of the past? We are not content with negative obedience, nor even with the most abject submission. When finally you surrender to us, it must be of your own free will. We do not destroy the heretic because he resists us. So long as he resists us, we never destroy him. We convert him. We capture his inner mind. We reshape him. We burn all evil and all illusion out of him. We bring him over to our side. Not in appearance, but genuinely, heart and soul. We make him one of ourselves before we kill him.
But what was the point of killing him after all that work?
I don't know.
You follow somebody for 7 years. Then you finally decide to arrest them. After what you have been surveillancing, essentially. Then you go to 3 phases. Phase 1, you're going to beat the shit out of him. Phase 2, you're going to mentally fuck with them. Phase 3, you're going to, like, tell him all this stuff, and then you're just going to, and flip him to your side.
And electrocute him. And do all this shit. Yeah.
And then just to kill him, what's the point? If not to make him a martyr, because, no, it's not about that either.
I don't know.
So what's the fucking point?
O'Brien says that by the time they had finished with them, they're only shells of a men, and then they would beg to be shot quickly so that they would die. They could die while their minds were still clean. But then we kind of find out later on why that was like said that way and why people would want to be dead while their minds were clean, I guess, kind of. We figure it out. So I'm sorry, I got lost in my thing.
It's okay.
So pretty much they make them submissive and force them to change their ways, their thoughts, heart and soul, and then kill them anyways. And then Winston goes on and is like, his voice had grown almost dreamy. I swear to God, he's falling for O'Brien. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Aww.
So O'Brien tells Winston that what happens to you here is forever, and then he electrocutes him to 3,000, which at the most before it kept going up by like little increments, like 100, 200. The most he ever got was 1,000, and now just right off the bat, like here's 3,000 voltages to your fucking dome. And they had it on his temple, so I thought this was like when he was gonna die, because it says 2 soft pads, which felt slightly moist, clamped themselves against Winston's temples.
Yeah, I thought for sure it was going to kill him.
Yeah, well, no, this time, and this time it just, like, completely discombobulated his whole entire fucking brain, and it didn't hurt. Mm-hmm. According to O'Brien, it wouldn't hurt.
Well, because there was a blinding flash of light. Yeah, there would be, the electricity.
Because you're almost dead. You probably saw the light trying to, like, kill you. And there was, like, an explosion and, like, all sorts of shit.
And then the blow, like, flattened him out.
And then Winston wasn't hurt, only prostrated. And he just, like, got fucking completely just what you would imagine being electrocuted, really. Like, what the fuck? And then he's, like, he woke up kind of, and obviously, like, really fuzzy, and his whole fucking brain has been discombobulated. He probably got, like, discontinued, like...
Yeah.
Not discontinued, but, like... disconnected from his fucking spinal cord and put back on, like, during that, like, cartoon status, right?
Experience, for sure.
Yeah, and O'Brien was like, it's not gonna last, look me in the eyes, what country is Oceania at war with? Winston thought he knew, and he's like, I don't know, like, what the fuck? And then O'Brien tells him that it's East Asia, and then he goes, oh, yeah, okay. And then, but what's crazy is that, so he's agreeing with everything, and O'Brien even says, like, you created a legend about 3 men who had been condemned to death for treachery, the 3 men that I was talking about earlier.
The fucking picture.
The picture, yeah. And it's just, he's just asking, and O'Brien's like, yeah, that all, yeah. And then he holds up his 4 fingers and says, how many fingers? And O'Brien distinctly, like, can see 5, not deformity, not anything, but he sees 5 fingers.
Yeah.
And it's like for 30 seconds, he had a quote-unquote, like, party brain is what I'm referring to. Because he has, like, the big brother brain, like, for 30 seconds. And then he comes out of it. And when he got discombobulated in his brain, he said that a piece of his brain felt like it was, like, missing. And
it was like an electrical lobotomy.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what it is. And so it was like each new suggestion that O'Brien had filled up a patch of emptiness and became absolute truth. And when 2 and 2 could have been 3 as easily as 5, if that were what was needed. And that's, like, he did it. So that's how they are, like, getting people to convert over.
Just have to fry their brains into submission and rewire the brain.
Yeah.
They're rewiring, because you think about it, your whole body and brain is electricity.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. So electrical currents.
They're rewiring his brain, essentially. Yeah. Like, that's what they're doing. But he was, like, you know, not fighting it, so to speak, but he was a tough one to crack.
Yeah. Well, so he came out of it, though.
Yeah.
But you could see why now, when O'Brien said that they were begging to be killed while their mind was quote-unquote clean.
Yeah.
That would be the point. Mm-hmm. To dive in while their mind was, like, I guess, clean, maybe.
But also, like, their mind is quote-unquote clean, but it's also, like, they're fucking not even themselves.
Yeah.
So if they're like, oh, I just want to die now, it's like, that's not even them. That's whatever they did. That's the rewiring brain. That's not their brain.
Yeah.
That's them fucking with it and then them having those thoughts. That's not even... That wouldn't even be O'Brien. If he said at that point, that would be the electricity that they fucked with in his head.
Exactly. So then, so O'Brien asked, like, oh, do you have any, like, questions? Because now O'Brien's back to being buddy-buddy since he, like,
he
finally,
correctly,
with his heart and soul, answered correctly. And, of course, he says, what happened to Julia? That bitch, let me tell you, I've hated her since the beginning. I've told you there was something wrong with her since the very beginning. And O'Brien says that she betrayed you, Winston, immediately, unreservedly. I have seldom seen anyone come over to us so promptly. You would hardly recognize her if you saw her. All her rebelliousness, her deceit, her folly, her dirty mindedness, everything has been burned out of her. It was a perfect conversion, a textbook case.
I can't even believe that they can get the bitch out of her brain. Like, they essentially took the bitch away.
The bitch is still there. Deep down, the bitch, like, the personality is probably still there. Just what she believes in is different. So now she's going to be a bitch for the other side.
Oh, she's going to be really bad.
But they won't let her go.
No.
She's dead. If they already converted her, then she's dead.
But then even poor Winston, he's like, you tortured her? Like, he feels...
Yeah.
Even though he's saying she ratted you out, basically.
Yeah.
Or turned against you. He's still like, you tortured her?
Yeah, like what the fuck?
Still worried about her.
He's stupid.
Forget about her, Winston. Forget about her.
So, then he's like, next question, does Big Brother exist? Of course he exists. But not, like, in the same way that Winston does, because Winston doesn't exist, according to O'Brien.
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's
true.
so weird. Does the Brotherhood exist? And O'Brien says, that, Winston, you will never know. If we choose to set you free when we have finished with you, and if you live to be 90 years old, still, you will never learn whether the answer to that question is yes or no. As long as you live, it will be an unsolved riddle in your mind. And you know what? I don't think the Brotherhood is real. And I've said that since the beginning. Like, that I don't think it's real. I think it's a way... Well, I haven't said it probably since the beginning, but since O'Brien and that whole thing. Like, when he went to O'Brien's house. Yeah. Just to be like, there is... To find out who's willing to give up the party.
But who made the book then? And what about
O'Brien.
the telescreen? And
O'Brien. Or O'Brien's people.
And all that.
I think that Big Brother is Goldstein. I think that Big Brother is the Brotherhood.
Okay.
Right?
But then what is O'Brien then?
A worker.
He's just a...
Party member. Just a high up one. Okay. Like a little, what do they call them? Like,
lackey.
Yeah, or the other word that I like better. I don't know. But yeah, same idea. Henchman.
Oh, yeah.
What's the other word that I like better?
I don't know.
Henchman is it. And then what, and then Winston asked what is in room 101? And O'Brien was like, you know what is in 101, Winston. Everyone knows what is in room 101. And then put in the needle, and that was it. And Winston went into a deep sleep instantly. But room 101 is where he fucking is.
That's what I was just thinking. Isn't he already in 101?
That would be room 101, yeah.
That's what he doesn't even remember.
He doesn't because of the lobotomy. It fucked him.
They rewired his brain.
And now he knows nothing.
And then so they rewired his brain. Now everything is all jumbled up, but there's like this gray area that now, or not even gray, blank area that now O'Brien can put whatever he wants there.
Yes, and that is how he's going to change him, rewire him, quote unquote.
And then just kill him, though? What's the point?
I don't know. I really want to know what happens. We only have 4 more parts left, and then we're all done, and then we get to watch the movie.
I'm excited for the movie because I want to see like how they depict all these characters.
When I watched the trailer to make sure that we could like even watch it, because after you asked that last week, I was like, fuck, I don't even know. Can we watch it? Like, are we going to have to rent it? Like, how do we do this? So I went online. There's 3 different versions. And so the one that I want to watch is the one that was made in 1984 or 5. Or 80s at some point. It's on Tubi, I believe. And I watched...
Tubi?
Yeah.
Tubi has all the weird movies.
Dude, right?
I've seen so many clips of people that, like, they watch Tubi and then they, like, I don't know, screen record or video record or something, like clips, and it'll be like a kid's gonna get hit by a car, and it like has like this weird part where you can see it's like a dummy, and you can see like the platform where the kid is, but it's not supposed to look that cheesy and cheap, but like it is, and then I don't know, I can't even like describe it. Yeah.
Well, Tubi is a free like platform. There are good movies on Tubi. I know there are some like blockbuster movies on Tubi, but yeah, it's probably mostly like independent,
everything
like small.
Everything is like really bad.
Yeah, so
really
that's
bad.
I think it's on Tubi, or it's on Freevee. I don't know. It's on one of the free things.
Tubi.
So,
oh my gosh, just go on like Instagram, go on TikTok. And just write hashtag Tubi comedy or something.
Oh my
God. And it's
God.
gonna have all these really like can't even say B movies. It's gonna be like F movie or like I don't even know. Z movie. And it's just really bad. But I think they're probably like college students probably do better than these people. It would be like if I tried to make a movie. It would be
oh
like
my God,
bad.
that's so funny. So lower than independent movies.
It would be very bad. Yeah.
Okay, well that's our book, and yeah, so stay tuned. We're almost to the end, and we'll see if Winston lives, dies, gets set free, or just... I mean, those are the only options. Live, death, or set free. Live forever in prison, die, or be set free.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll ever see Julia again.
Julia's dead.
You think?
I think.
Dead?
Dead. I would imagine. She already, like, confessed to everything, and there's no reason to keep her.
Yeah.
And they said that they never let people go.
If her mind is clean or clear or whatever the word he used is, then yeah, she's dead.
She's dead.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, thank you for listening. And don't forget to
share, like, subscribe, follow, and tell your friends. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.